Hey, welcome back to the Myth and Presence channel, home of Knox Hollow, Steampunked Out, and Nemesis gear. I've got 2 or 3 things to hit really quick. The first one is the embossing wheels that, for those of you who don't know, I created an embossing wheel system that converts a pipe bender. We'll get into that in a minute. I finally have those back from the machine shop, so those will be going out very soon. So quick update for y'all, and then stick around towards the end of the video. I'm actually going to do a tutorial on how to assemble all the parts, and I'll do some more explaining on that. I have a show in like 3 days. I'm leaving, including today. So I've been running crazy busy trying to get everything done. For the wand enthusiasts, I have not forgotten about you. I'm still making wands. I've been very remiss this spring. I made a bunch of wands for the show, and I was so busy and sidetracked trying to keep up with all the things I'm trying to get done that I failed to video any of them, except for one. I made a wand for me. So keep an eye out here when I get back from the show. I'm going to be doing a video on this guy. This is my personal wand. I'm keeping it. It's ebony and holly, and it has a silver twisted wire. This is real silver inlay in this, and I have a video showing how to do that. We'll talk about that in an upcoming video. So if you're a wand enthusiast, keep an eye out for that. 3D stamping has been going well. I've been absolutely swamped with just new designs trying to get ready for the spring show season. So for those of you who are waiting for these embossing wheels, I apologize. It has been almost a month beyond what we thought it was going to be. They said it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks before they could start a project. It ended up being 8. I thought that they would be done with in about a week after they started, and it took like another 2.5. Unfortunately, that puts me in a little bit of a bind because, as I said, I do have a show next week. I was able to pick the stuff up from the machine shop on Friday, a couple days ago. And so here they are. Here's the parts. I've got 2 boxes of these things. The lower wheels turned out great. We did a small modification in order to get them to machine and save us some time, as we actually made this in 2 pieces, so it was easier to machine. And then it had a slip joint in the middle, and they're bolted together. But I have tested this, and it works just the same as the other one. Really, it works really good. No problems with this guy. It's pretty well good to go right from the machine shop. The only problem is on these guys, and it's not bad actually. Everything works well on it. The edges on these right here, a lot of these feel rough. They're kind of sharp, and these little points right here are really sharp. And because we're all going to be taking these sleeves on and off and everything, I needed to, or at least on mine, I just kind of lightly took some 240 grit sandpaper and just kind of rubbed those off. There's no pressure on the edges, but it does make the sleeves a little easier to get on and off because they do have to be lined up just right. I wanted to take that sharp edges off. So I've got a whole bunch of these that before I send these out, I just don't feel good about sending them out to you folks until I have them cleaned up and safe. But I'm also, as I said, I'm test fitting everything before I send it out to make sure everything fits properly on the machine that I've got, so that I know when you get it, it should fit on your machine. I really don't want to send a kit out that hasn't been tested, because I don't want you to get it and then something's not working, and then we have to figure out, is it the part, or, you know, I told you on my first machine I got, the drive wheel was warped and I had to get a replacement right away. So I hope you've all checked to make sure that if you've already gotten it, make sure that drive shaft is good and straight. You can roll it back and forth on the table, and you could see mine had a wobble in it. So that's going to be important. But I'm also test fitting. I want to make sure that all of the set screws thread in there correctly. Everything is smooth and all that. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any way that I've got time to get it done before this show. But I set aside some time today. I'm going to try to work on that and see how far I get. And then I've got to get everything packed and ready to ship and get those shipped out. And there's quite a few kits going out. So for those of you who are not part of the embossing wheel kit group, I do have a couple of videos. Maybe I'll link one up here that shows how this works. I designed a kit, converts the pipe bender, and you can make an embossing wheel for doing belts and straps. The best part about it is it allows you to 3D print your own design sleeves, so you don't have to pay to have those machined or whatever. You can just design them up yourself and print them. So that's the big benefit of it. The machine shop, when they made these parts, they have to make a couple of extras in case during the machining process something goes wrong, and that way they don't have to retool the setup to make just one. So they made a couple of extra. They got all the way through the process with no mess ups, so I have 2 extra kits that I will be selling. If you did not get in on the everybody chipping in, it turns out that I've got a couple of extra kits that I will be selling as well. So there are 2 slots open. If you're interested in getting a kit, send me an email, contact me, and we'll work on a way to get you set up as well. And I'll also get you all the 3D printed files and access to the tutorials on how to do that. So that's why I kind of wanted to make this video public, is because I am going to have 2 kits left. I do want to make sure that my shipping and everything gets done and gets to everybody, and make sure everybody's parts work before I sell both kits. But I actually had an extra one made as well, so technically I have 3, but I'm holding one in reserve in case something's damaged or lost in the mail. So I do have 2 kits that I can sell right away, possibly a 3rd if you're interested. Anyways, so that said, for those of you who are a part of the group, I wanted to go ahead and take a little bit of time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on all of the parts and stuff and show you how this all gets assembled. Okay, so for those of you who are not interested in the assembly of this thing, thanks very much. I hope to see you on the next video. When I get back from these first couple of shows, I'll have some time to finally get back out in the shop, and we'll be doing some more wand making videos. I'll get this one edited up, and probably some, I've got tons of new leather stamps and stuff that I'm working on, so I'll probably do those too. For the rest of you, let's get zoomed in here, and I'm going to show you how these kits go together. Okay, so when you guys get your kits out of the box, so I don't believe that this main drive shaft is installed, but I believe when I got mine, it had the lower wheels on either side, on the front and the back here. Those you're going to want to remove, and then this top I think was completely empty. So I'm going to pull this aside. This is the top wheel. You'll notice the top wheel is different because it does not have a bearing in it. It's got set screws. One of these that you get with your kit will have set screws in it that tighten down on this shaft, that keep it from spinning. They go on the flats of the shaft, and that's what keeps it locked to the wheel. So we're going to need those, and I'll tell you what parts you want to keep and what you want to get rid of. The first thing to do is to go ahead and take apart all the lower pieces here, and these just come out with these pins. That you pull the pin out of the rod, and take off the washer, slide it out, and then you're going to get these lower wheels. Now there's 2 of these lower wheels. Each one of the lower wheels has a bearing on either side. You need these bearings. These are just slip fit bearings, so they just slide in there. They don't wiggle around, but they just slide in. And so you're going to need 2 of these. You'll have 2 spares in case you ever need them again, but you want to retain the 2 bearings. You can throw all of these guys in the box. It comes with a whole bunch of different sizes. If you ever want to make a pipe bender out of it again, you can always put it back together that way. I'm not terribly worried about it. find the upper wheel with the set screws and take the set screws out. You will need the set screws, okay? Now, what we're doing different here is we still want one of the lower shafts is still going to stay in the front. But this second shaft, instead of putting it where it goes originally offset for that wheel, it's actually going to be installed in the same slot as the drive wheel. All right, so it's gonna go here. So what you want to do is get your bearings that you had from the other part that came with the machine. Take your bearings, and those are going to fit inside the machined parts, and it should just slide in. Some of the, there might be a little bit snugger on the slip fit, but we wanted to make sure that there was no play or anything in that. And then we're going to assemble this the exact same way that it came for the other. They have these little sleeves on here that keeps the bearings from popping out. So you're going to put this in your slot, put one sleeve on, push this through your bearings. And this is the pain in the rear here. You got to get this other sleeve in here. Oh, that's right. Aha! Something that you folks will need to know. These are wider. So, these that came with this are too big. I have printed my own sleeves that are slightly narrower. I do not remember if I gave you these in the kit, so I may need to send you the file for these. I mean, it's a really simple cylinder with a hole in it, with a, that's 20 millimeters, well, with an offset so that it fits on these shafts. So, but you can see it is slightly narrower. You can play with this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Mine wiggles on there a little bit. It's no big deal. So what we're going to do is put our shaft back in. I'm going to put my sleeve on there. Then we're going to slide this up to where it's just about to pop out. Now we're going to take the other sleeve. We're going to put that in as well. That shaft comes out the side. We'll put our washer on and our pin in. If I can get it lined up straight. There we go. All right. You should have a good free turning wheel. Should be nice and centered there. You can see mine does wobble back and forth just a tiny bit. That's okay. It's not a big deal. Remember, everything is going to be aligned and guided with these side walls on that lower wheel. Okay. So that's that part. This lower ramps, that if you've printed those already, you remember I've got these little clip-on guys here. You can put it on whenever. It just slide it on the bottom there, then this clips on, and that's good to go. That'll slide up and pop right into the slot. And now that this is on there, everything stays centered with the slot. So that's how that works. Pretty straightforward. Now this upper wheel is a little bit of a pain, and it's because, I mean, it's the same with the original part that was in here. It was a pain to do that as well. But the only way that I could make it work is to make the exact same set screws that came as part of this. I made the exact same set screws on here to tap the holes and stuff, the exact same as the upper part. So this completely compatible with the drive wheel. The only thing that I've done a little bit different for alignment purposes, my original design for my testing, I had this 3D printed guy. I had these shaft collars that I had to modify to get to work in here, but I just took one of those shaft collars out, and now I made myself a stop so that it's easy to know how far this goes in. So in order to get this to go in, if you notice on your shaft collar, there are two flat spots on this outer end. Those are for the side of this with two set screws. The single set screw goes away from the handle. The two go towards the end of the shaft, okay? So we're gonna assemble it just like that. We're gonna just put it in, slide in between the bearings. Run it all the way through. And like I said, I've got that stop on there, so I know how far I can go in and get this set. The real trick is getting the flats aligned with this guy here. And this is, you know, again, I'm working with what they had. I used the original screws, so you shouldn't have to buy anything else. It's just an Allen wrench to tighten these guys. And so what you can do is just tighten it just a little bit and start rotating it until you feel the slot, if you have it lined up. Or you can do it by eye. Okay, so I got the first one lined up, so I'll explain what I'm doing here. So I got this one lined up with the flat spot, and so what I'm doing is I'm just bringing it down, and you'll see I'm not quite, it's touching. I'm going to back it off a little bit, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this in here until I know that I'm perfectly square with that flat, with that first screw, and then all I'm doing is just like finger snug. You don't want to over tighten these, okay? This is aluminum. So if you turn this sideways and just keep tightening the crap out of it every time you do it, you're going to strip those threads out, and then, oh well, what do you do now? Maybe you can use a helicoil. It doesn't need to be super tight, because all we're doing is just making it snug. That's on the flat of the wheel, and that will keep it from spinning free on there. And there's 3 of them, so it's not it's not rocket science. Just make it snug. Once you get it a little bit snug, then you can double check these, make sure that they screw all the way down, all 3 of them. And that's ready to go. So obviously I didn't put my sleeve on here. But if you want to do this, this is before you put this in, you put your sleeve on or whatever. I wanted to show you one other thing that I have done to mine that it has made it better. So if you happen to notice on this thing, it wobbles. On my original, what I did is I took these washers, put them in the inside here in between to take up the slack on the sides. They were really hard to get in there. It was a real pain in the butt to do, but it was working pretty good. Since then, I have come up, actually after talking to the machine shop guy, with a much better way to do this, and it's really worked great. So what I did was, and here's the problem, it means if you want to do this alteration, you got to know how to drill and tap. But there are probably some other ways that you can do it. If I kind of explain the general idea of what I'm doing, it'll help a lot. So let me show you exactly, I'll zoom in a little bit closer and I'll show you what I've done to kind of help deal with this sloppiness. I mean, obviously, of course, here's the crank. If you printed that off, you're just going to crank this down. When you get this into the slots, or into the that lower wheel, obviously that starts to eliminate a little bit of that wobble, because it's still, even if it wobbles, it's going to stay aligned, and then obviously this stays aligned in here. But what I've found, because that big crank goes on this outside and there's a lot of pressure, it has a tendency to push down on this side, which wants to do this, and that leather's a little bit squishy. And so sometimes you had to be real careful, because it would try to squish the leather more on one side than the other. So, but I'm going to show you what I did to kind of counteract that. I'm going to go ahead and put this sleeve on here, and then I'll zoom in really close so I can show you what I did. Okay, I think I've got that close enough to where you can see both of the parts I want to talk about. So this is something that the first designs I did, I was just trying to get this dragon scale pattern on there, and I thought, if I do a sleeve with the dragon scale pattern all the way across, and then I have a guide ramp to keep it centered, then it doesn't matter when it runs through, I can do any size belt with the same sleeve because it's going to go all the way to the edge. So this wobbliness, it was a little bit wobbly, and you can see it wobbling there. It made absolutely no difference. Everything worked fine. But I noticed when I started doing the belts that I have basically a border on. Those of you who got the basket weave, I think some of the others, they all have this too. But this is the width of the belt, but there's a gap on either side. So there's a border on either side of the belt. And so what happened was, because this was squishing, when you start cranking on the big hand crank that's on here, what it tended to do is it wanted to kind of cock this a little bit sideways, and it would put a little bit more pressure on one side than the other. And sometimes even with the feed ramp, it would kind of go off center. 90% of the time it wasn't enough that, you know, made the belt unsellable, but me being me, I'm always trying to improve on designs and everything. So that's why I had the washers in there, from pretty early on, and that took most of the problem away. But the biggest problem is this still needs to be adjustable, because you need to be able to get it centered. But once you get it set, you don't want it to push sideways on you anymore. So what I found is, so I've got the sleeve on here. I'm going to crank this all the way down. And this has got those spacers on there, and they're a little bit bigger than the design. So I'm going to put it all the way down to where it's touching. So, okay, so I know that now this shaft is perfectly parallel with this flat right here, because both of these are touching. All right, and as you can see, there's no more wobble in this at all. Okay. So what I did was, after talking to the machine shop guy, we were trying to figure out a good way to minimize that wobble and still make it adjustable. He suggested drilling and tapping a hole on either side here and just putting a little set screw in here, so that what we can do is this set screw screws down and touches this top edge. Now the original idea is to use two of them. So that basically what it does is it's going to keep it, right now this is a little bit too low. What I'd like to do, my original idea was to have two set screws and then index them, and then that way, depending on the thickness of the leather, you can turn it like, say, one full turn on each side, and that way they'll stay parallel. If you take them both down until they both, and this doesn't have a lot of pressure on it, all you gotta do is touch it. Just touch it, that's it. You get both of them to touch on either side, and then if you turn them back off the exact same amount, that should raise both the screws up, however many millimeters you need for your belt to emboss. Unfortunately, I had cheap taps that I got from an auto parts store on discount, and I got one hole drilled and tapped. The other hole I got 3/4 of the way through and broke my tap, so I did not get this other side done. But, well, it still works actually really well. So what I do is actually just take as long as the tap is on the opposite side as the crank, because the crank always pulls down because of the weight. So if we can put this set screw on the opposite side here, that keeps it from going sideways. So what we're going to do is I'm going to raise this up a couple of millimeters, so just enough to where it would be where I want it for the leather to emboss. And that's something you're going to play with. Depends on the thickness of the leather that you're embossing. Okay, so now that I've got this raised up, you can see that wobbles back, right? So if I take this set screw, and if you look in here, you'll notice that because of the weight on this outside, especially if you've got the handle on it, this side will be higher than this side, so it's not perfectly level. And it's like I said, when you run the belt through there, it goes pretty straight. It's not a big deal, but this will help. So what you do is, if you will just lift your finger up so that it's level, you can lightly tighten this screw down on the opposite side of the crank until it's level again. Now, when you crank on this and you're pushing down, it's because it's always going to go down. If you had it on both sides, it wouldn't go up either. So you can see it's still already pretty darn stable in there. The wobble is almost completely gone. So If that's something that you want to do, it's not something I could include in the kit because obviously you have to drill out the top of your base in order to do this. I am thinking about designing a 3D printed part that clips up to the top here and has some sort of a set that cranks down and keeps it. It would need to be pretty solid, but you also have to be able to back it all the way off because you want to be able to raise this wheel all the way up because that makes it a lot easier to get it on and off. But if you have the means or you know somebody that can do it for you to drill out, it does not have to be a big screw. It needs to be something that will screw down and stop this wobble from happening by going in between here. And that has really just made this thing so much better. It was good from the start, but that's definitely something to think about. I'm constantly thinking about things that I can do to improve this. I will be sharing in the Facebook group as I come up with some new ideas. Aside from the feed ramp here, I think I want to design something for the outfeed that catches the belt, and then possibly something to hold the belt on either side that kind of curls it up automatically. Because when you're doing, especially ring belts, you're doing a 70-inch strap, ends up on the ground or whatever. I'm going to bolt it to a bench and kind of get that going. But anyways, once I get all that set up, I'll show you some other improvements that you can do. And of course, if any of you want to come up with some 3D printed designs and share, that's what the Facebook group is for. So hopefully we can all make just handy little improvements to this thing to keep making it better. But as it is right now, with the 2 parts in the kit and the parts that you have, it's a good working machine to start with. I just really wanted to share this tip with you because I think that this is the one main improvement I think that really helped it. So as you can see, if you just it's not something that you tighten and bear down. You can do it with your finger. If you back it back off all the way, now I can raise this all the way back up. And that gives me access to all of my screws to be able to get this back apart, change out my sleeves, do what I need to do, and all the rest of this just stays in place. So being able to raise this all the way up is really helpful. So anyways, I hope that helps out. The only thing I didn't show you is how to put the handle on, but that's the same as the machine that it came with. So look at the instructions for that. You guys are pretty smart. It's really, really easy. You slide it on, you tighten 2 bolts, and that's it. Matter of fact, once I get mine on, I usually just leave it on and just take the whole thing out. I did make a smaller crank because it was less weight, and it did help. It did help with that canting a little bit because there wasn't quite so much weight on there. But it really needs to be a circle, and I had mine as a crank, and the circle just worked better. And with this set screw, it completely eliminated the need for that. So I just went back to the wheel. So anyways, that's what I got for you. Hopefully that explains how to use all the parts and get it together and everything. I'll be getting these kits out to you as soon as I can. I want to clean them up and make sure you guys paid a lot of money and have been waiting a long time for them. And I'm sorry about that. I just don't have any control over the machine shop. But I want to make sure that what you do get is going to be something that you're really happy with. I'm pretty happy with what I'm getting off of these things. So I hope you're as happy as I am. Hopefully more. But anyways, that's what I've got for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.